There was a time in our history where Disney parks had a dream, and that dream was another park with a section on slavery. Bad idea or good idea? We're going to get to that soon, but let's talk about what set this up. So in 1989, Michael Eisner was the head of Disney, and he imagined the Disney decade ahead of them. They were working on Pocahontas, which was going to reinvigorate more of their Disney. This was in works way earlier than 1995 when it premiered, and it does feature a very overlooked and beautiful Disney princess. But they were maybe biting off more than they could chew at this point. So they wanted to build, at the time it was called Euro Disney, but we know it now as the Disneyland Paris. And it was a massive failure, about $3 billion in debt after that, because it didn't do so well. And then they still had plans for Disney's California Adventure and another theme park. And they were, at the time, Michael Eisner and some other heads at Disney had America on their minds. Like, let's celebrate America. It's intertwined with Disney. Yeah. Why wouldn't we? I mean, if you look at Main Street, it's like, yeah, that's an idealized version.
I mean, and look at how well the Hall of Presidents does down in Disney World. I mean,
that's where I go to nap.
It's my favorite place to take a relaxation point.
So at this time, they were like, you know what? Let's make a park based on American history. Yeah. And people were very excited about this. Reporters were excited about this. Until there was, more discussion about what might be in these parks. And that came from a very specific person near the head of Disney Parks. Let's see what he had to say. Bob Weiss, the park's creative director and senior VP, had this to say: "How can you do a park in America and not talk about slavery? This park will deal with the highs and lows. We want to make you feel what it was like to be a slave and what it was like to escape through the Underground Railroad." You can't see this off camera, but everyone is laughing, covering their eyes, covering their faces, weeping in sorrow.
To how it's like to be a slave. I mean, I get the importance.
It didn't go over well. I'm going to say that right now.
Like, to what extent was this attraction going to put people through?
I mean, we have the...
Well, hold on. I got a really important question. Where were they going to put this park?
Well, they were going to put this in Prince William County, Virginia, with other animatronics robots of every American president. Right. And they hope to make this kind of a center to host and televise political debates, public forums, gatherings of writers, educators, speeches, furthering education on America's history about the past, the present, maybe what we can get into in the future. But this includes the slavery experience, which many people, and probably rightfully so, did not think Disney would handle with the right amount of respect, of the right amount of
dignity. Look at Splash Mountain. I mean, it's based on Song of the South, for God's sake. Yeah. You think they could change the narrative of that? They still don't.
You know what? I'm really surprised they haven't changed Splash Mountain to reflect a different movie that didn't directly invoke blackface. But okay.
And you know, and I always forget. I always have to be reminded, Virginia is the South.
So yeah, and also a lot of people in the area, including DC power brokers, thought this would fundamentally disrespect nearby historic and cultural sites, ranging from Monticello to the Smithsonian. They thought it would unfairly draw away tourism from the nation's capital. They were not pleased about this, and there was a heavy barrage of press opposed to this, which is funny to think about now because I hadn't known about this at all.
Until you sent this, like, we're talking about this, I'm like, I have never heard, and I love, like, weird Disney history, and I'd never heard of this. Wow, Disney. Way to really convince us that there's not weird inherent, like, racism and
The Black History Action Coalition was very opposed to this. They said the sons and daughters of the slave masters have managed to manipulate black people so as to portray us as lazy, hateful, and unpatriotic. We do not want to see this. We are going to boycott this. We don't think that it is a historically dignified or accurate portrayal or suitable fare for an amusement park, which is another aspect. They actually polled people in the D.C. area, especially young people, teens, as to whether they would go to this, and they thought, no, it doesn't seem fun or like a good idea. So that kind of fell apart. They did have ideas for the Industrial Revolution roller coaster, which could be okay if we don't talk about like
getting your hands cut off, like 6-year-olds working the factories. Yeah, that sounds like a great ride. That sounds wonderful. Woo!
this is an idea of what it could have looked like.
Oh, it's like Big Thunder Mountain.
Kinda. It looks kind of like the part that they bulldozed.
And here's everyone getting like coal lung and oh God, Disney! Wow.
Workplace buildings, innovations. Really, the innovations building? This is another drawing.
Oh.
I mean, it looks all right.
It reminds me of Fable 3.
It reminds me a little bit of Columbia in
BioShock,
Infinite.
yeah.
A
Okay.
little bit, which,
Yeah.
as you'll remember,
Oh.
really racist.
Racist.
Oh my
Really
God, so
racist.
racist. So,
Oh.
you know, this kind of fell apart. There was this time in the late 90s when Knott's Berry Farm wanted to sell, and they already had a replica of many historic American buildings. And there was a time where Disney was thinking about buying this, but it was bought up by Cedar Pines instead. The Industrial Revolution did not come to pass as a roller coaster, and Slavery Land did not come to pass as an area for parents and children alike to watch animatronics of slaves.
I got nothing. I got not. You know what? At least we have Zootopia. At least now we have Zootopia. Thank
which
you,
handles
Disney.
bigotry in a meaningful way.
Yes, thank you, Disney for Zootopia.
I mean, I can see where this comes from a good place.
I
Maybe
agree.
An ignorant
but
place.
a very ignorant
maybe
place.
not in a meaningful expression. But yeah, it's just probably not a good idea on many counts. Oh, audience, what do I ask you about this story? Audience, do you like Slavery Land? No. Audience, would you visit an America-themed park, you know, with America's highs and America's lowest lows? Let us know below in the comments, and please like and subscribe for more.